And he said, well, think. He said, every afternoon, the wind comes very strong from the west. What's west? Mediterranean. So the wind carries moisture. The moisture condenses on the windward side of rocks, and overnight these little tufts of grass grow. One here, one here, one here, one here. And the shepherd finds hillsides that have been exposed to the wind, and the sheep get a mouthful here, a mouthful here, a mouthful here, and a mouthful here. Okay, I'm furiously taking notes, which they also think is ridiculous because their view is you take notes so you don't have to think. I'm furiously taking notes. And I said to him, what do you call this? In Hebrew he said, I'll do it in English. The Lord leads me into... This is what the Middle Easterner calls green pastures. And then he got annoyed with me. Well, they're always annoyed, but he got really frustrated with me. Because he said, you Westerners take Psalm 23 and you make the green pastures belly deep alfalfa. And if you become God's sheep, he plunks you down where you have everything you need for the rest of your life. Do you know, he said to me, whether or not you have what it takes to handle what's going to happen to you in 10 minutes? First I thought he knew something I didn't. And then I'm thinking, I have a wife and 3 kids. I could imagine news coming. I didn't want to think about it, but I couldn't deal with that. Why, he said, isn't this goat worried? Well, he's got a mouthful. And then, a shepherd. The Lord leads me into green pastures is moment by moment by moment. Listen to me, folks. You don't have anything more than the tuft of grass you need right now. I promise you. But if you have a shepherd, whatever 10 minutes from now will bring, there'll be grass. That's all you get. And we Westerners want retirement accounts, bank accounts, fridges filled with food, houses with far more than we'll ever need because we want to make sure we have enough. And God says, you forget where you live. You're desert folk. You don't believe this? Then I'll put you back there. Now that's the desert. The foundation of the biblical system are 24 pictures or more, every one of which says all you get is just enough shade, just enough water, just enough honey, just enough green pastures to go one more step. You want more than that? Then you're a goat. And you know what happens to goats. And to the goats on his left, he said, you go to hell. Yes, I don't see who's that. Yes, ma'am. First name? Teresa. Thank you. You've got your...
What keeps them from wandering away? They don't have any
The sheep will always follow the shepherd's voice. Look, where are the goats? All over the place. Every shepherd will tell you 90% of their time is spent trying to keep those lousy goats here. Those sheep, if that shepherd walks 200 meters and calls them, that whole flock will come in 1 or 2 straight lines right to the shepherd. Voice, voice, voice. The only reason the Middle Easterners have a dog is for hyenas. I've never seen a dog chase sheep in the Middle East. That's more of a British thing that got introduced to part of the world. These are the goats. They never follow the shepherd. In fact, since you're interested in that, you see the trails where the sheep walk? Those are called paths of righteousness. The paths of righteousness. Why? Because a sheep will go directly to the voice. So let's imagine I got a flock of sheep back here. Here's a canyon, a wadi, 100 feet deep, and here I am. Hey, you guys, come on over. That whole flock of sheep will walk right into that canyon. They'll all die. Goats will go around. Those sheep, you'd have a whole flock of dead sheep. So the shepherd has to keep the path straight. So the sheep don't have to go in a curve. So the shepherd first goes over there and says, Roah, and then here, Roah, and then here, Roah. So the path is always straight. When the shepherd calls, you go to the voice because there's nothing dangerous in between you and the voice. My sheep, said Jesus, hear my voice, they know my voice, and they follow me. By voice. You don't follow Jesus by force. Goats, and you look at that and you think, God, that's an interesting, maybe you don't, but I would think that's an interesting way of the Lord leads me in paths of righteousness. By the way, notice, The Lord leads me to green pastures. The Lord leads me by still waters, which I skip. The Lord leads me in paths of righteousness. When it starts to get dark, and I watch these little kids with those sheep, little kids, this girl was far tougher than I am. Watch these little kids. When it started to get dark, they get real nervous because sheep, again, will go to the voice. And if there's any danger in between, let's see if I put that, look where the flock of sheep and goats end up being. If there's anything in between, the sheep will go right into the danger. So the moment it gets dark, you'll see the shepherds back, and pretty soon they're right in the middle of the flock. I think I had a picture of that earlier. Bear with me a minute, as Rachel said to Leah. Here it is. Notice how, as it starts to get dark, the shepherd gets right in the middle. You can tell I'm a Stephen Wright fan. The shepherd gets right in the middle. Now listen to the psalm. The Lord leads me. He's 200 yards ahead. Don't ever think of God as coming up behind you with a stick trying to keep you in line. You don't want to stay in line? You are welcome to join the goat brigade. Not welcome, but you can. God ain't going to stop you. Been there? Just remember what happens to goats at the end. It's profound. But he leads me to green pastures. He leads me by still waters. He leads me in the paths of righteousness. Even though I walk through the valley of the darkest shadow, we say shadow of death, which is implied, though that's not what the Hebrew says. The darkest shadow, I will not be afraid, for you are with me. And notice at that point, the shepherd comes and is with. It's right out of the Middle Eastern mind. Now, I find people intrigued by this. Intrigued by this. This, by the way, is the basis for the rabbi. The rabbi learns his method from the shepherd. Then I take a group of people to Israel. Okay, I'm going to be your shepherd. I'm going to be your rabbi. Which means, even though I'm a poor one compared to them, or to the real rabbi, Jesus, you got to follow me because I know the path. Come on! And away I go. And I know exactly what I'm going to see. I'm 200 yards out, I turn around, and every type A American has found a better way. So there are some up here, and there are some up here, and there are some over here. Stop! The shepherd knows the path. You can't diverge. So if I'm not too intimidated by the group, stop, let's go back. I've gone with rabbis where he'll walk 5 miles. And at the end of the 5 miles, he'll say, did you see the, let's pick one. Did you see the acacia with the roots twisted? And he knows that at that point, a bunch of us took an easier way because we didn't have to climb way down and then way up. It was easier to step above. So we didn't see the roots. 5 miles. Come, and you walk back. 5 miles. Turn around and say, come, follow me, lech acharai. And away you go. And everyone is right in line, one behind the other. Very difficult to teach that to a group of Westerners in the Middle East. But listen to me. Sorry. If you follow Jesus, you do not have the luxury of picking the path that looks easier. There is only one.